G'day everybody, Steve from Mudduck's 4-Drive Touring. Just about to show you some preliminary stuff on the work I'm going to do to the cruiser. But of course, by the time you see this clip, it'll all be part of the same video. But what I'm doing is I'm about to fit a dual battery system, a new dual battery system. I'm taking the current dual battery system out of the cruiser and fitting a dual lithium system. So what I have to do is, this is the current state of the cruiser's batteries. Now, don't worry about the dirt, that's just dirt, but I've got multiple bits of crap here. There's just wiring and stuff everywhere. The dual battery system is a split system, going to the red arc DC charger there, and an accessory battery over here. So what I have to do is I'm going to link them back together. The system I'm going to use is a DCS battery system. Now here is the original conduit that, when the cruiser was produced, linked the two batteries together. Now this conduit's been reused to run the dual 8-gauge cable from the start battery around through here into the red arc. So I've got to strip that out, put a nice big positive cable across through there again to link them back up, because I'm going to go the DCS dual battery system that you may or may not have seen on some other channels. The two batteries are going to be linked together again. This red arc's going to be redundant. I'm going to put a load voltage sensing load disconnect in there. I think it's a Victron. So that's all going to be changed. Now in the course of all this, I'm pretty well going to tidy up as much wiring as I can, because I've got wiring running from here that heads down the back to the accessories. I've got wire running from here that heads down the back to the accessories. I've got wire here. So it's going to take a couple of days, I reckon, when I get to it. Now the other thing I've got to deal with is my new batteries have got posts, not terminals like these. So I'm just trying to work out whether I need to go to get some terminals to fit onto the posts, or posts to fit onto the terminals I should say, or whether I can just go bolt on, because I've got so much gear running off this, but I won't need anywhere near that much, I don't think, when I change the system. So it's going to be a bit of suck it and see. I just thought I'd give you a first look at it. This has obviously got the radiator shroud off. I'll put that back on in a minute. Today is just a preliminary look at what I'm doing, and we'll get onto it in due course. God, the engine bay's a bit grotty, isn't it? That, in case you haven't seen it before, is my aftermarket HPD intercooler. Didn't that make a difference? EGTs on this thing are stupidly low. Now it's great. Anyway, that's pretty well all there is to tell you about what I'm up to in that regard at the present time. Now, for continuity's sake, even though you'll see all this on one video, my shirt will probably change, because this is going to take quite a while to do. So it'll be 2 or 3 assorted days, which may take weeks before you guys see it all, but obviously it'll be one clip for you guys. Anyway, that's it for now. We'll get on to it and we'll show you everything we can show you as we progress. Well guys, instead of listening to the music like you usually do, I just thought I'd give you a quick voiceover on this one. This is a longish video. I couldn't make it any shorter because I wanted to do it as a one-piecer for you. So it does go for 53 minutes. I hope that's okay. Grab yourself some drinks or something like that. Sit back, relax. I really do hope you enjoy this one. This is just how I put a dual battery system in with a lithium conversion. So it's a little bit different. It's just what I did. It's not a how-to video, guys. So thought I'd let you know about that. I haven't time-stamped it or anything like that, but parts of it are too boring for you. Fast forward, whatever you like, guys. I hope you enjoy it, but I just couldn't make it any shorter, and I didn't want to make it a two-parter. So thanks for your indulgence, guys. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and we will see you guys a little bit later. Cheers. Now, here's the dual batteries on the floor of the lounge room, because isn't that where everybody keeps their dual battery system? So that's the 2 deep cycles from DCS. That's my load disconnect there, and that's a new MPPT solar controller. Comment below if you don't keep your dual batteries in the lounge room. No, just kidding. Who would? I would. I'm weird that way. Right guys, well, it's time to get back into the cruiser and start this dual battery. So nothing to see special just yet. I've got to pull the cowling off here. I'm going to start working out all the wiring, and there's plenty of it to figure out, guys. Now, I have no idea how much of this job I'm going to get done today. If I don't get it all done today, the car is going to be disabled until I get another day off. Not a big deal, of course. I got the Ranger, so as you can see, I've cleaned it since earlier in this clip. Alright, I'm going to get into it, so I'll show you the bits as I go along. I'm not going to show you me dismantling everything, because what's the point? But I will show you things that are pertinent to the bits I'm doing at the time. One of the first things I have to do is identify what everything is. I mean, that earth terminal, that's fairly obvious, but what goes to where? Now, as you can see, I've got a swag of things on here. Now I need to know what all of those are, and I've got to possibly redo the terminal from the alternator starting system. Well, I will have to redo it, it's just a matter of what I have to do to that. So I'm going to dismantle all that and try to determine what it's all from. I also have to reutilise that wiring loom to run my new power lead across from positive terminal over to positive terminal of this one. So not a lot to show you there. I'm just going to be pulling wires apart and trying to figure out what they do. It's been a while. Now, I wasn't going to show you too much of this, but here's some of the stuff I'm coming up against. Look at all these. Heaps of those. Heaps of these. Wiring all through there, all up there. Half of it I don't remember what it does. So I have to track down and suss out what all the things are. So it's going to take a while. Anyway, it's a slow process, and here's what it is. As I identify things, I'll be able to show you. That one's my Hall effect meter, so I know what the current is from the battery. This goes off to the torque converter lock-up kit. This is power for gauges that are on the A-pillar. Those I know, but so much stuff in here I've got to rethink and find. Like at the moment I'm trying to work out where that goes, but I've got no idea. It goes to the front, so we'll just have to see what I can find out as I go. Right, what I've decided to do at this point is completely remove the battery. I've taped anything that was on the positive terminal in red. Now obviously it's not going to short out, there's nothing to connect to. And everything that wasn't, so it was on the negative, is untaped. That'll help me to track down what I'm looking for as I go around the engine bay. Because it's just been adding things in. So realistically it's pull them all apart, trace the wiring, see where it leads to, and go with that. So it's a slow process. So taping everything red that was on the positive purely and simply so I know it was on the positive. That's pretty well the only reason. So I've got a bunch of wires just leaning up here, some hanging down there, others going under the front. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess, but oh well, we'll hopefully get it done. Alright, I've just pulled the battery tray completely out, and it's in pretty good nick down there. I'm going to give it a quick coat of black paint. I'm pulling all this stuff apart. I might as well tidy it up as I go, do a little bit of cleaning, paint some stuff and make it pretty as I put it back together. I think that looks a bit better, sprayed black. Another thing I've done is these factory posts had edges and lugs and things on them. That's the earth. So I've ground that off and made it a flat terminal, same as the one from the alternator and the fuse box. I've trimmed them down to make them more like a normal lug, because the new lithium batteries have got just bolts for posts to sit into rather than the old standard battery posts. So I've ground them off, and hopefully they'll be good enough to do what we need it to do. Alright, first problem. With the battery relatively in place, here's your positive terminal. These are your big ones that come from the car. Yeah, they're not going to reach in their bent situation, even though I ground them down. So I'm going to try and straighten those posts up and see if they reach it. I don't really want to cut them off and put new ones on, because these cables are not super long. So I'm going to try and straighten them up and see if they reach the post. So wish me luck. Okay, with a little bit of persuasion, I've been able to make the factory lugs make it. There's no doubt I'm going to need longer bolts for these to handle a few other things, but that should technically have the car able to run. That's the next one. Undo all that, pull that battery out, and then just work the wiring across and add things in and figure it out as we go. Alright, that'll do for this bit. At least it'll start. Alright, in my collection of bits and pieces, I found some longer bolts. Don't know if we can see those. They are the right thread to go into battery posts. Probably buy some better ones, but for the time being, they will do the job. Alright, I think it's time to get into the pulling out the other battery and starting to decipher the wiring. I'm pretty sure I can have it running today, but will everything else be working? I don't know. After a rain delay, I'm back into it. I'll take this bracket where the red arc DC is out of it. And of course, every bolt in there is different. It's factory, but it's different. This one's a 10, that one's a 12. The bottom one I can't remember. But I was going to take the grill out, but I think it's just easy to take this bracket out here, lift the whole charger out and work on the stuff out of that. Because literally getting to the grill's a pain in the backside too, because of this charger. Anyway, we will continue on. As you can see, I've already taken the second battery out of here. I'll probably clean that up as well, like I did on the driver's side. Well, actually, the passenger side, the start side. We'll do that and I'll show you some more soon. Now we're into the fun part. I've got a cameraman now, guys. Brett from Den Monkeys here. So I've pulled the red arc DC out from under the bonnet there, or under the grill, tracing its leads around. Now ARB's recently done work on this car, so there's things that are different around this battery that I'm not aware of. So anyway, half of this stuff's got to come out, so I'm making a bit of a mess with a knife here, just trying to see what the hell's what. I don't want to cut things until I know what the hell's what.
That's the worst thing about following somebody else's work, isn't it?
Exactly.
The mystery of it all. You've almost got to retrace every friggin' piece of wire.
I mean, had I not wanted to change the system, this would bloody work fantastic. Yeah.
Holy shit.
I hate everything about that ARB.
That's,
I get the theory, but I hate it. Okay.
It looks like a bloody stainless steel bloody swage you'd use on a fence or something.
It's something like that, I think.
I'm sure, no doubt, sure it's conductive, but
Jesus. I hate that ARB. Hate that.
Is it soldered as well, or what's going on there?
It's crimped there.
Is there two there?
So it's like a double. There's three cables here soldered together. That may have been me originally.
You might take responsibility for that, yeah.
But yeah, they've just decided they couldn't fit it on the lug, so they've done this. So I'm just going to cut all that off, because that's just horrible.
And how much of that needs to go back in?
That's a good question. That's why I've got to trace it.
Yeah.
I got all the connectors I ever need, so I can fix it without any problem. All I got to do is find where my side cutters are.
You do always end up doing it better the second time, don't you? Like, you do the first go and you go, yeah, that'll do, and then you come back to it and you go, Jesus, I've made a dog's breakfast of that. And generally, as a rule, Stephen, I would say that your stuff is reasonably tidy.
I'm usually happy with it, but really,
You
it has been a while since this has been attacked.
You usually do a tidier job than I ever get around to doing. You usually do a tidier job than I ever get around to doing.
It's a Victron low disconnect.
Right, okay.
So being a Victron, it's bound to have Bluetooth.
Oh yeah, I can see the little Bluetooth logo on there. Right, okay.
And that display, as far as I'm aware, whatever number it is, will equate to some voltage setting.
Yep, righto.
Where it shuts off.
Like A, B, C, D, whatever. Righto. Current rating on that?
I'd have to look it up. I think it's 65 amps.
Now, this all come from DCS, yes?
Yep,
is it
Recycle Systems in Queensland, yep.
So it all come from DCS, it come as a kit.
Yep,
so
this is the one that comes with the dual battery kit. It's the one they recommend, and realistically you wouldn't be drawing that much current at the back anyway.
No.
Other than your inverter.
You're not planning on it.
And I'm not planning on it. I'm toying with the idea of the inverter having its own separate cables down the track anyway, a whole separate entity. For the time being, it'll run off the fuse box like it does now.
Yep.
Because I don't draw that much current. The biggest thing I'm going to run on it is the bloody battery charger.
So the thinking is, it come as part of the kit, so in theory it should be capable of doing whatever those batteries are going to put out.
Because realistically, you run a fridge and some camp lighting at the back.
Yep.
You're not likely to draw more than 20, 25
what's
amps.
What's your fridge running? Maximum 5-6 amps?
5 or 10 or something, 10 amp starter.
So your lights, 2,
LEDs,
3, something.
a couple of
Yep,
amps.
depending on how many you're running. But I know there is something that's going to go in there later on. That's going to pull around about 10.
Well, the radio gear typically draws 10 amps. So, but I'm only on one at a time.
Yep.
So the radio gear, 10 amps on transmit.
And it's only on transmit,
3 or 4
so
amps on receive.
duty cycle's fairly small. But I'm thinking about your little oven. You're going to put one of them over the back?
The travel buddy,
yeah.
I'll only do about 10 amps.
Yep, they're 10 amps. Yep, mine pulls 10.
So realistically, this should still handle it.
Yep.
Without any problem.
Even if you went up 50,
it's
which
only
would
the
be
inverter
overkill. Yep.
that will ever create a problem, and I really think the inverter is just going to wind up getting its own power cable. Probably a stupid 6 gauge running from the back.
Once you save your money up and run it back.
But initially, it will be okay because I'm not going to draw that kind of current on it.
Yep.
It should be alright.
Well, what's your the power on the charger? Probably only a couple 100 watts or something.
Yeah, it's 330 watts to charge the.
330 is it?
Yeah,
Yep. Right. Okay. Even that's pretty steep. So I think.
That's why my current inverter won't run it.
No, it's just charging a single battery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's only 4 amp battery.
Yep. So yeah, Stephen. As far as coupling with the battery, are they standard battery terminals?
No.
No. What are they?
They're just bolts.
Ah,
so
righto.
they bolt into the top of the battery. And I probably need longer ones, which I had some lying around somewhere earlier.
So my giant AGMs are the same thing. They don't have terminals. They just got the screws. They come with the screws or the bolts.
Yeah, these have got ones that came with it, but they're not going to be long enough to handle a few more items hanging off them. Because I still have to hook a winch.
So have you?
Earth. I'm still going to hook the winch power. They're going to have to be separate to everything else.
Yep.
So they're going to go on there.
And it's going to have its own fair size lug.
Yeah, well they're not little. That's the winch earth.
Okay.
So the power's much the same. Wherever it is, it's hiding in there somewhere. Oh, that's it there. So they're all taped up. I taped up everything that was positive, but I've already mentioned that earlier. So.
It's a bit of a negative attitude.
Before Brett came here,
yes.
I taped up everything that was positive.
All right.
Even though the batteries are disconnected, so I'd know what they were. Positives.
Now, while you're there, what's that?
Couple of tech, electronic rust prevention.
Alright, I got one on the Pajero there. It's buried down underneath somewhere. I don't even know whether that works. Yours has got a light on it. Does that ever do anything? Do you know?
Yeah, if it goes red, there's a problem.
Right. Okay.
Rest of the top flashes green. It's not doing anything at the moment because nothing's connected.
Alright. I'll check mine in the car. I don't know what that does. Anyway, so you need some longer bolts to finish off your octopus.
Yep, pretty well. We just find some and add things back in as I go. which I'm not going to bore everybody with. I'll just show people bits and pieces as the stages get done, because otherwise you're just going to be watching hours of video of nothing.
And Stephen has to get in down there somewhere because he's got a bolt.
Yes, that's going to be fun.
Down underneath the car.
You guys don't need to see that.
Well, we'll get to it, Steve.
Well, Brett's had to go. Thanks for your help earlier, Brett. Now, what I've found, I wasn't expecting, is these batteries are a bit taller, and I want to clamp that down using the original clamp. That clamp's shaped, so it's going to be a bugger of a thing to bend. So I've got to figure something out for that. Don't know if I need to get some flat strap of some description and make up a new one, or what. But anyway, that's my next challenge. I'll show you that when I figure it out. Okay, I've solved one problem. That's the clamp. I've got to redo the second one too. What I've done is I've reshaped it. I've cut little gaps in here. I don't know if the camera's going to see that. And there. I've bent that down and that up to make it the right shape. Now what I'll do is I will call on the services of my mate young Pat. We'll run a little bit of weld on there to strengthen it back up again, but it'll be okay until I get that done, which won't take too long. It's pretty solid. I don't think it'll ever go anywhere. It's a pretty solid bit of steel, but we'll do that, and that should help that. We've got the two batteries connected now. This one's, I've got to do the same thing with its bracket, so I'll do that in a second. But they're connected, so the truck will run. And then it's just a matter of figuring out what to do with all the loads that come off it. But we'll get to that.
3 days later.
Well, it's been a few days, because it's done nothing but rain here. So we'll get back into it, where we left you only seconds ago for you. Both batteries are bolted up, and aside from that not much else has happened. So the next stage I'm going to do is find a spot for the battery disconnect. Then I'm going to start searching, working out which wires are what, and connecting them all back up basically. So we'll get into that.
Things you do for a missing bolt, and things you do when the bolts just don't unscrew. You just grind it. We'll buy new bolts later. I thought you were doing electrical work today.
Well, all this to find a bloody bolt.
Yep.
There it is. After all that, I found the bloody bolt. All that for one little bolt. Unbelievable.
Which bolt was that again?
That's in the radiator support that holds the bonnet catch.
Oh, so it was an important one then.
Yeah.
So we can get back to the task at hand then.
Yeah. Alright, so after some bash plate removal to retrieve that bolt there, now I can actually get back to the job at hand, which is working out where to put this load disconnect. Ideally I think somewhere there, but I just don't know how to hold it in place. Right, so the first step, we're going to connect all the earths up. Turns out it's a 13, I thought it was a 12. Now, I've sorted the wires into a couple of categories. Some have to go back on my battery. I've got spotlight wires, which wires. Great camera girl work here, guys. Hard to get good help. It worked easier when I just stood it there by myself, didn't it? Anyway, so we'll hook the earths up. Hopefully this bolt's long enough. Overhead a shot on top of the intercooler as all the wires need to go across the other side of the load disconnect. And do all the positives on this side after I've done the earths on this side. then start on the load disconnect on that side. So we'll find out if the bolts are long enough, and if they're not, we'll have to get some. Right, that's all those earths in, and yes, we need a longer bolt. These little ones that come with them. DCS, if you're watching, can you supply 2 or 3 different length bolts? Loving your system so far, but really, these? Not going to cut it. I reckon I need an even longer bolt for the positive terminal, because I've got even more stuff that has to go on it. This is aside from the stuff that goes in the load disconnect. This is stuff that has to run. The load disconnect will have the other stuff. This is stuff I have to have connected, no matter what. Time to pull the tape on everything. Yeah, I don't know if I'm bottom down on the bolt. That means I need a shorter bolt there. I haven't got a shorter bolt. So a couple of washers will have to do the job, I think. Anyway, you'll see that after I've found the washers and put them on. You don't need to see me bolting it down a third time. The beauty of the extra washers will be that as I put other things on this battery, I hope I don't need to, but if I do, I can take a washer out and put a terminal in its place. So I'm basically just future-proofing it with these washers. Was that planned? No. But is it going to work? Yeah. Right, well that's relatively okay. So the next step is to take all these across to the load disconnect, which I have to figure out yet. But this is most of the starting system and driver lights, headlights. That should all be functioning. If I can only remember what this was, guys. I'm going to connect it up anyway, because obviously it's got to function. So getting back to this. Well, Kaz has already approved. We double side that there. It sits there pretty solid on its own because it's half wedges under the battery and the clamp. And the battery's got a slightly flexible lid. So I reckon once I put the double sided on that, it's not going to move. So I think that's what I'm going to do next. That's not moving. I honestly can't see how that's going to go anywhere. Plus, it's going to have cables holding it, you know, holding pressure on it and stuff as well, so can't imagine how it could go anywhere. Next thing I could do is make up a power cable to literally run from here to here. Now it's going to be time to connect all the assorted earths, and then I'll do the powers last. Right, I just wanted to show you this bit. Because I've got a catch can down here, feeding some of these conduits around the top would make removal of the catch can or stuff down the track a bit hard. So I'm going to undo the bolts on this, pull the catch can aside, feed the conduits underneath, and then bolt the catch can back in. Now it's not particularly necessary on some vehicles, but it is on this one. And that'll make room for the conduits to sit below the catch can bracket down there, which will be better than feeding them up through this gap here.
3,000 years later.
Alright, quite a bit of time has passed since my last bit of the clip, but I didn't see the point of showing you me extending all the cabling that ran across there and making joins and joining up wires. I mean, where's the fun in that? What I have done now is these are the loads connected to the load disconnect. Earths are on, positives are on. Got one more to do here, but I need a couple more clips for that, so I can't do anything else with that for the time being. Just about had enough of this for the day, and it is thinking about raining again. So everything seems to be connected. Got work to do in the back of the car, but that may wait till another day. But yeah, all the wiring that I felt could go from this side across the load disconnect I've done. So all new conduits and stuff across the back there. Very time consuming, guys, very time consuming. I've put a few hours into this since the last bit of the clip, but of course it'll be seconds for you. Alright, I'm going to keep thinking about what else is next and maybe pull the pin on it for the day. But it's pretty well getting there, I think. I might download the Victron app and work out how to do the disconnect too. Alright, I'll get back to you in a while. It's been a couple of days since I've done anything on the car, but it'll only be a very short time for you guys, of course. I'm on my way down to Pat's to do the welding on the brackets that I had done for the batteries, or that I'd modified for the batteries. So yeah, I thought I'd tell you while I'm on my way down there as to my reasonings for going into the lithium under the bonnet. As you're all aware, your AGMs, lead acids, deep cycles, doesn't matter which kind of lead acid wet cell you've got, they're only good for probably 50% of their amp hour. So if you've got a 100 amp hour battery under the bonnet powering your fridge, realistically it's useless if you've pulled 50 amp hours out of it. So and it drops voltage, so while it's dropping the voltage, the current you're drawing actually increases, so to keep your devices like your fridge running. So we're all aware that lithium will let you pull that down to 80-90%. But DCS batteries I have, they say, are designed to go down to 100%. Would you do that? Probably not. But DCS is saying they're designed to draw to 100%. But even at 80%, it's nearly like having twice as much power available as you have out of your AGM or your wet cell deep cycle. Because realistically, you're not going to pull it down to 50%. It's completely flat and useless at that point. You're only going to get maybe 40% out of it. So if you get 40 amp hours of use out of a 100 amp hour battery, that's about all you're going to get. So the lithium, just the one lithium, to replace the accessory battery gives you 80 amp hours. So that's twice as long, realistically. And as I said, they say they'll go down lower, but let's just call it twice as long. So you've got the power of two batteries in the space of one. Now I'm replacing both the start and the accessory battery. Now traditionally, as you know, you separate them with a DC-DC charger, so your start battery is completely separate, and that's okay. But you've got a battery under the bonnet that has got a lot more capacity than just starting your car, but you're not using it because we're all terrified about having a flat battery when we start our car. So I'm going to lithium, which has got twice as much capacity. It seems silly to have a really good battery with all that power ability not powering your accessories. So I've gone down put the batteries back together in parallel, so now I've got the power of basically equivalent to 4 batteries to start the car instead of the single, and I've got the power of at least 3 batteries to run the appliances at the back. And the reason I say 3 and not 4 is because I've got a load disconnected. You've seen me at this point put under the bonnet. I'm actually moving it. I'm going to shift it before this video is finished, so its place will be different. And the load disconnect will shut off the loads from your battery when it gets down to 20% left. Now 20% is plenty to start the car. In fact, it'll start it dozens of times with 20% of power left in it. So the theory is I've now got the power of at least 3 batteries compared to 1 to run the accessories at the back. Now my old AGM, or no, it's not AGM under the bonnet, it's just a deep cycle wet cell. It was good to run my gear for 3 days pretty well. Longer with solar on it. In fact, solar used to keep it up to the point where it pretty well run indefinitely, as long as you had good weather. Now, I'm thinking that with basically the power of 3 lithiums, well, 3 batteries down to 2 lithiums, if you get my meaning, then I should be able to go, instead of 3 days, 9 days. But let's be sensible, let's call it 7 days. A week without starting the car, should still be able to start the car, run the fridge, lighting, anything else I want to run in the back. So that's the main reason for it, is to get better power distribution and better power generally. And I have noticed that in the time I've been running these, it turns the starter over faster, so obviously it's getting good current to start it, and the speed of charging is pretty good. They're pretty well full now, so I'm just looking at my amp gauge, which you can't see. It's saying I'm only putting 19 amps in, so they're pretty close to being full. When I first fitted them, they were at 60% and they were taking 60 odd amps. But now that they're up near full, they've backed themselves down. They've got the built-in battery management system. And somewhere while I'm talking now, you would have seen, or should have overlaid already, the profile of the DCS app, which shows you what the batteries are doing. Now, if you've seen some other YouTubers, they've probably already shown you this app, but possibly not. So anyway, I'll give you a look at that one and show you what they're doing. So yeah, they're charging well. They show you the cells, they show you the temperature of the battery, all that kind of stuff, percentage of life, you know, that kind of thing. So that's the main guts of it. That's the nerdy bit. The other reason for switching to twin lithiums under the bonnet is these lithiums are, I'll put the specs up because I can't remember. I'll have to actually look them up on the website because I didn't weigh them, because I haven't got any scales at home these days, so I can't weigh anything. But I'll err on heavy and suggest they're 13 kilos each. So there's 26 kilos under the bonnet in 2 batteries. Now I had more than that just in the start battery. And I can tell you from pulling them out the other day, the start battery doesn't weigh as much as the deep cycle did. Now, last time I checked specs on the batteries, and if I can find the specs, I'll find them and put them up, guys. If I can't, just take my word for it. But I would suggest that the 2 batteries under the bonnet before would have gone 60 kilos between them. So now I've gone to less than half of that, at say 26, and it might only be 24 or 22. When I find the battery specs, I'll put it up. So I'm getting rid of at least 30 kilos off the front. Now, as you know, 200s are fat and heavy, and this one's overweight. It's not overweight legally, but it's overweight for what I wanted to do. So ripping 30 kilos out from under the bonnet is good. I also plan, which has got nothing to do with this video, but I'll let you know anyway, I'm planning to remove the wire rope off the winch, because it's still running wire, this one, and replace it with synthetic. Now I think that will give me another 30 kilos of weight out of the front. So by 2 simple jobs, I've shed 60 kilos. Wish I could shed 60 kilos that easy, but anyhow, that's a whole other story, isn't it? So 60 kilos of weight reduction under the front when those 2 jobs are done, but at the moment, say 30 kilos of weight reduction under the front. So that's a bonus. I've got to do some sorting of the truck out at the back and try and get some weight out of there too. So that's basically it. So I thought I'd tell you the reason while I'm driving down to Pat's to do this welding, as to why I've been doing it. Now hopefully this part of the video is not too boring for you, but I had to give you the explanation because I'm not sure I've explained it in detail as to why I was changing it. Anyway, that's about it for this bit, and we'll show you more installation stuff as we go along. At this stage I haven't done the wiring in the back of the new what is it, the inverter, the new inverter. I haven't wired that yet, so that's still coming, but you'll see that very shortly. I may take a few more days before I get to it, but you'll see it very shortly. So anyway, that'll do for now, guys. I'll tell you more when there's more to tell you, which you're probably getting sick of me saying, but it's pretty well how it is. All right, guys, see you.
1 week later.
Okay, guys, so it's been a few days since I've worked on the car. I've been driving it around and it's been good. I've got a week before I go on holidays and this is my last day off. So anyway, we're going to try and get into some more of it. There's been some changes of plan. This is 2 gauge cable, which I'm going to run to the back. I may have alluded to this on an earlier part of the clip. Sorry if I'm going over myself. There's 2 gauge cable. I'm going to run that to the back. There's some crimps. Now, there's only 2 I could get. I need to get some more. And there's a 200 amp circuit breaker, which I want to put at this end of the 2 gauge cable. And the load disconnect, which has a fair swag of stuff on it down here, is going into the back, and some of that stuff stays down here connected still and some of it doesn't. So I'll start pulling things apart and try to figure it out as I go, and I'll take you along with me. I thought I'd show you what Pat did the other day. I didn't show you the other day when we did it, but he's welded the brackets back together, ground them and cleaned them up, even painted them for me. So they're all as strong as they were originally now. They're just the correct shape to suit the new batteries. Same on this one, of course. May even be a better line. Where I cut them and modified them, Pat's welded up some new bits and basically re-strengthened them again. So they're all the way they should be. Broke the little plastic lug tug off this thing where it used to screw onto there. No big deal. I think it's just going to stay there. I might just zip it on, and that'll be that. So I'm going to start on the figuring out which cable is going where. I also have to move the earth cable from the winch, because I stupidly put on the same battery that its power cable is, and it needs to be on the opposite battery, so that's no big deal. So I'll take it off the start, or the main start battery. Used to be the start battery before they were back in parallel, and I'll earth it on this battery. That's what DCS suggests to do, and who might argue with that? Alright, we'll get onto this. Alright, I've been working on this for over an hour, and I've done very little that you're going to see. Earth lead from the winch is now on that battery. I've removed the 2 twin core 8 gauges off here and pulled off the shut off the voltage disconnect, the battery disconnect, load disconnect. That's the one, load disconnect. All these have to be here. Some are gauge power, some are for electronic rust prevention. Others are they're things that don't draw current really unless you're using the battery or using the car, so I'm not worried about them. I don't think they're going to be a problem. And yeah, other big leads it's pulled off here. So next thing I have to do is trace them back into the back of the car. But I didn't show you me hooking all that stuff up because I had to lengthen some of these to make it back around to the positive terminal. And you don't need to see me lengthening, cutting and splicing wires and stuff. If you do want to see that stuff, let me know in the comments below and I'll try and do a video on how to do decent connections. But yeah, I'm pretty sure most of you guys know what you're doing. Anyway, that's that bit. So now I have to try and find the origins of where these wires are going. That's going to be a whole interesting part in itself, but I'll show you that when I can. If you're new here on my channel, this is the wiring in the back for 200 now. There's my fuse box, sorted cabling, there's the radio gear. Wired all this myself. The fuse box is powered from the individual batteries, or was powered from the individual batteries. So one side runs start battery power to the radio gear mostly, another side ran accessory battery power to the fridge and so on. Now that's all going to have to change because the fuse box is going to run off the parallel battery system, so I'll probably put a jump across in there to parallel them up. And I've got to find a spot for the load disconnect, so it's probably going to go here, I guess. I might try and squeeze it between the radios. I'll make that decision when I get it in there. We'll work out where the wiring's going and coming from first, so that's the next bit. It means pulling out half the sills in the interior and stuff and tracing wires, so that'll keep me occupied. Well, I'm a bit excited, guys. While I've been working on the car, my new tent has finally arrived. That's pretty cool, but that's not what I'm here to show you. What I want to show you now is what I'm up to in here. Now, I've traced one pair of cables, that's that pair, and they're going down the driver's side of the car. So I'm going to hopefully just pull out the sills and stuff on this side and pull the 2 gauge through this side. If I can do that, that's going to make life way easier. But in the process, I had to pull all of that out of there so I could loosen off this panel enough to get the cable out from underneath it. First world problems. Right, the next phase we're up to is, you're probably not looking at much there, 2 gauge wire. I've got to tape to this 8 gauge wire here and use that 8 gauge as a pull through. Don't be thinking rude things, guys, talk about pull throughs, because I found it here. Here it is, coming through from the engine bay down there in that sill, and I'll get it round through here. So I'm going to pull it from the engine bay back, I think. I have a feeling that's going to be better. So I use a hell of a lot of tape to tape it onto these wires here. Alright, first failed attempt of wrapping the wire. It was too thick here to pull it through, so I've gone a second go with a piece of coat hanger type of material in there for that to bind to, and then that one's behind it, so my little lump in the centre isn't as thick. So Marco's coming to give me a hand.
Hey guys.
So hopefully with this fairly stiff wire on the end of it, he can push and I can pull, and we might get it through, because it wasn't going through the other way, I can tell you. Hopefully we'll see when I've done that bit. Alright, well, with Mark's help, fortunately, that big thick cable there is now running through. Now I'm at the point now where it's not obviously going to hang like that, so we'll get to that. We're working backwards now from here. I've mounted the load disconnect in. I'm going to tie this cabling up and run that in a hidden configuration, so I've got to work from the back to the front. So that's what we're up to now. Had to pull half the car apart to do it, but anyway, we're at that point, so we're getting there. So I've put it up here above the cargo barrier bottom, because being live positive terminals, I don't want anything to get pushed up against it, so I'm going to put it there. Alright, I'll tidy up some cabling and we'll go from there. Yes, girls, he's taken, you can't have him. Right, well, not much has changed here, but I've put the car back together mostly. Now, I didn't show you me putting the car back together. You've seen cruisers pulled apart before. But what I have done is I'm going to do the back seat delete in this like I did in the Ranger. So the seats are out, they're gone. I want them out for this trip anyway. Now, I've got the disconnect there, and I've run the power cable down around there, and it then ducks inside and it disappears under everything. So we're up to that point. I still have to make a positive lead to run from here to my fuse box to power everything. Now I've got to find a place to make an earth, a good earth. I haven't quite worked that out yet. I am thinking maybe off the bottom of that bolt, because I'm not sure if that bolt there will do it. But there's a couple of, they go into seat belt mounts and seat mounts and stuff, so they should be good solid body earths. But then I'm pretty well ready to put it back together. Alright, I've still got to change the inverter and stuff yet. Whether that happens today or not, I don't know, but we'll get to that. So I have to change the cabling for that too, so that's not big enough. Anyway, that's what we're up to. It is getting there. Thankfully Mark came along to give me a bit of a hand today, because I reckon I would have struggled without him. Anyway, I'll get into doing the more in the back, and I'll show you more when we get there. Okay, the under the bonnet is completely done. Yes, I haven't put my circuit breaker in line yet because I have to get some more connectors, but that's relatively easy. But everything else is back there, so now I'm going to the back of the car to work on that bit. Well, we're getting closer, guys.
The next day.
Hey guys, where I left you yesterday, I'm not sure if I showed you this at the end. Anyway, I may be videoing for the sake of it. So that's all back together and in place. So today I'm going to remove this and put the new King's inverter in there and run the cabling for that. So not a lot to show you there. I'll probably show you mostly when it's done, but yeah, we're nearly there now. So the power's at the back and all that stuff's nice and tidy, and yeah, now I've just got to do the new inverter and work out how to mount it and all that stuff. So I'll show you that when I can. Alright, there it is, guys. Inverter's in, all wired up. Now before you say, hey, there's no circuit breaker or anything in line, you're right, there's not. There will be, but I just haven't got those bits here at the moment. But I won't include that in the video. Just take it from me that that'll get done at some stage. It does work. I haven't tested it with anything on it yet, but it fires up. So, and before you all have a go at me about the zip ties, that's actually the easiest way to mount things to that cargo barrier. It won't move. It won't move a million years. So it's up there. It's on the driver's side this time. Just the right and up the right way. Anyway, that's all installed. That pretty well brings me to just about the end of this video. So this is not a how-to video, guys. I'm just going to try and get out the sun a bit, sorry. This is not a how-to video. This is just what I've been up to on the cruiser. This has taken a couple of weeks to do. But anyway, hope you liked it. Give you a few ideas. If you do like it, chuck a like on it. It really helps the channel out. If you're new here, consider subscribing. And if you're old hands, thanks again for taking the time out of your day to watch one of my clips. Hope this was of interest to you guys. I know it's a little bit different, but anyway, had to be done, so I thought I might as well take you along. All the best, guys. Have a good one. Cheers. I really do like my electrical system.